The first time I noticed it, I assumed I was just tired. My office building had 20 floors. I worked on the 15th in a quiet accounting firm that lived by spreadsheets, coffee, and predictable schedules. Nothing exciting ever happened there, which is why the elevator panel confused me. Because it had a button for floor 21. That didn't make sense. The building had only 20 floors. I had been working there for 3 years. I knew the place well enough to navigate it blindfolded. There was no 21st floor. At first, I thought it was a design error. Maybe the elevator manufacturer reused the same panel for multiple buildings. But the strange part was this: the button looked newer than the others. Not worn, not scratched, almost untouched. It was late when I noticed it around 9:30 p.m. Most people had already gone home. Only a few lights remained on in scattered offices. I stepped into the elevator, pressed 15, and leaned against the wall while it rose. Then, almost without thinking, I pressed 21. Nothing happened. The button didn't light up. I laughed quietly. Of course, I said to myself, the elevator stopped on 15 and I forgot about it. At least for a few days. The second time I noticed it, something changed. It was another late night. Quarter-end reports meant overtime. When I stepped into the elevator, the building was almost empty. I pressed 15. Then, out of curiosity, I pressed 21 again. This time, the button lit up. For a second, I thought it was a reflection. But no, the lights stayed on. My stomach tightened slightly. The elevator doors closed. Instead of stopping at 15, the elevator kept going. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Then it continued. The digital display flickered. For a moment, it showed nothing. Then it displayed a number I had never seen before. 21, the elevator stopped. The doors opened slowly. At first, I thought the lights were off. The hallway beyond was dim, almost shadowy. But there was definitely a floor there. Carpet, walls, office doors. It looked exactly like the rest of the building. Except older. The carpet was worn. The paint slightly faded. Like this floor had been forgotten. I stepped out cautiously. The elevator doors closed behind me. When I turned around to stop them, the elevator was gone. Not moving, not closing, gone. Just a blank wall where the doors had been. My heart began pounding. I walked down the hallway slowly. Every office door had a small glass panel. Inside each room sat a desk, a chair, a computer, but no people. Dust covered most surfaces, like no one had worked here in years. At the end of the hallway was a conference room. Its door was open. Inside, a long table filled the center of the room, and someone was sitting there, waiting. He looked like he'd been expecting me. A man in his 40s, calm, perfectly relaxed. "Finally," he said. My throat tightened. "Who are you?" He smiled slightly. "That's not the important question." I took a step back. "Then what is?" He leaned forward. "The important question is, how long did it take you to press the button?" I frowned. "What button?" He gestured toward the hallway. 21. "Where am I?" I asked. He studied me carefully. "Think of this place as a version of your building." "A version?" "Yes, that doesn't explain anything." He nodded. "Fair enough." Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "This is the floor where the other choices live." I stared at him. "What are you talking about?" He pointed to the hallway. "Every office here represents a moment in your life where you could have chosen differently." "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" He stood and walked to the conference room door. "Come with me." Against my better judgment, I followed him. We stopped in front of the first office. Inside sat a man at a desk, working, typing quietly. The man looked exactly like me. My heart nearly stopped. "What is this?" I whispered. "That's you," the stranger said calmly. 5 years from now." "What?" "The version of you who accepted the job offer you turned down." My chest tightened. I remembered that offer, a position in another city, better pay. But I had declined it because I didn't want to move. What happened to him? I asked. He's doing well, the man replied. Much better than you. Actually, we walked to another office. Inside, another version of me sat staring at a phone, looking miserable. That's you, the stranger said. The version who never ended the relationship you left 2 years ago. I looked away. I didn't want to see it. Further down the hallway were dozens of rooms. Dozens of lives, different choices, different outcomes. Some versions of me looked happy. Others looked broken, but every single one was real. Finally, we reached the last office. The stranger hesitated before opening the door. This one is special, he said quietly. Why? Because this is the choice you're about to make. He pushed the door open. Inside, a man sat alone in a dark room. It took me a moment to realize that man was also me. But he looked different, older, tired, guilt written across his face. What did he do? I asked softly. The stranger didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the desk and picked up a newspaper. He handed it to me. The headline made my hands tremble. Local accountant arrested after corporate fraud investigation. My photo was printed beneath it. My heart pounded. I would never do that, the stranger shrugged. You say that now. What choice leads there? He looked at me carefully. The decision you're about to make tomorrow morning. What decision? You'll see. I felt panic rising. Why show me this? He smiled faintly. Because you were curious enough to press the button. And now you know something most people never learn. What's that? He stepped back toward the hallway. That every life is only one decision away from becoming a completely different story. Suddenly the lights flickered. The hallway began fading. Wait, I said. What happens now? The stranger walked toward the place where the elevator should have been. Now you go back, and the other lives. They stay here. The elevator doors appeared again. He stepped inside before the doors closed. He looked at me one last time. Tomorrow morning, he said quietly, choose carefully. The next day, when I stepped into the elevator, the 21 button was gone, like it had never existed. But when my boss called me into his office later that morning and placed a suspicious document on the desk, I understood exactly which decision the stranger meant.